Welcome to this explainer. So, I want you to take a second and really think about how you're using AI in your day-to-day life right now. I mean, if we're being honest, most of us treat it like a really smart search engine, right? Or maybe a brainstorming buddy. We ask a question, it spits out some text, and then we have to go off and do all the actual heavy lifting ourselves. But what if we've been looking at AI's role completely backward? Today, we're demystifying OpenAI's Codex, and we're going to uncover exactly why it is time to stop treating AI as just a consultant and start treating it as your brand new digital subordinate.
I really want you to let this question sink in for a second. What if your AI stopped just giving you advice and actually did the work for you? Imagine this. Instead of asking your AI, hey, how do I write a script to summarize my monthly expenses? You just tell it, summarize my monthly expenses into an Excel file, and then you just walk away. You go grab a coffee, and while you're gone, it literally creates the file, organizes all your data, and saves it right to your desktop. That is the massive paradigm shift we are diving into today.
Okay, let's dive into this, because the source material provides an absolutely brilliant analogy to help wrap our heads around the shift. Think of your standard ChatGPT as a really brilliant teacher. You ask it a question and it gives you the answer. It teaches you how to do your homework. But Codex is like having a dedicated employee. You don't ask it how to do the homework. You just hand over the instructions and it actually executes the task and hands you the finished product. And honestly, the best part? You can literally have multiple digital subordinates running at the exact same time, doing different tasks in parallel. It's wild.
Here is our roadmap for today's explainer. First, the digital subordinate. Second, pricing and easy setup. Third, 6 game-changing features. Fourth, 3 tips for mastery. And fifth, we'll look at Codex versus Claude Code.
Section 1, the digital subordinate. We're moving way beyond mere text generation here.
Now, if you're sitting there thinking this is just some niche tool for software engineers hacking away at complex code, think again. Sure, in the past, AI coding tools were strictly for developers, but that is definitely no longer the case. OpenAI has completely revamped this tool to handle pretty much anything. We are talking about automating the most tedious office work, generating meeting minutes, summarizing long email threads, all just by giving it simple instructions in plain English. And the adoption rate for everyday office workers? It's absolutely staggering. We're looking at over 5 million users globally. Since the desktop app launched back in February of 2026, the user base has exploded by more than 6 times. Plus, after a massive update in April 2026, Codex can now directly operate your computer and integrate with all your daily apps.
Section 2, pricing and easy setup. Let's talk about frictionless onboarding.
You know how a lot of incredibly powerful software comes with a massive price tag, or you basically need an IT degree just to install it? Well, OpenAI has made getting started with Codex surprisingly frictionless. The absolute crucial point here is that if you are already paying that $20 a month for a ChatGPT Plus subscription, Codex comes at 0 additional cost. Nothing. And here is a huge detail from our sources. Codex runs on a completely separate usage limit from your standard ChatGPT. That means you can have Codex doing heavy automation work all day in the background, and it is not going to lock you out of asking regular ChatGPT questions. Now, if you're a power user doing massive, complex automation 24/7, yeah, there are pro tiers at $100 and $200 a month for extra limits, but for most of us, that included Plus tier is incredibly generous.
Now, what's really interesting here is that while hardcore developers might absolutely love the IDE or command line versions for their specific workflows, the desktop app is the hands-down winner for everyday office workers. It gives you direct access to your local files and folders, 0 complicated GitHub setup required, and get this, you can even connect to it from your mobile phone while you're out running errands. Getting it running is just 3 simple steps. Download it for Mac or grab it from the Microsoft Store for Windows. Log in with your normal ChatGPT account. Easy, right? But wait. Step 3 is a vital security tip from the source material, so definitely pay close attention to this. You absolutely must create a dedicated, isolated folder for Codex to work inside. Codex operates inside whatever folders you give it access to. You definitely do not want to give it access to your main documents folder where you've got sensitive client info or payroll data sitting around. Keep it isolated, keep it safe, and just copy the specific files you want it to work on into that dedicated space.
Section 3, 6 game-changing features. These are the literal skills of your new digital employee.
Let's rapid fire through the first 4 skills it brings to the table. First up, plugins. Codex natively links directly to apps like Gmail, Google Drive, and Slack. You can literally tell it to read your emails, summarize them, and post that summary to your team's Slack channel, all without you ever opening those apps. Second is in-app image generation using the GPT-4o model. You don't even have to leave your workspace to generate a graphic for your presentation. Third is voice input. Our sources note this is highly accurate and just blazing fast, like 2 to 3 times faster than typing out long instructions. And fourth, memory. Just like a good human employee, Codex actually remembers your specific formatting rules, your writing style, and your project guidelines, so you aren't stuck repeating yourself every single day.
But the real power from that April update, that's computer use. And this brilliantly illustrates how this is not just some API integration. Codex can physically take over the mouse and keyboard to interact with apps on your screen, exactly like a human would. So if an app doesn't have a slick plugin, maybe it's some random booking website or an old legacy CRM tool, Codex can still look at the screen, click the buttons, and enter the data. On a Mac, it can even do this in the background while you keep working on your primary screen. It is literally like having an invisible assistant sitting right next to you.
Feature number 6 is Goal Mode, which fully rolled out in May 2026. Normally, if you give an AI a massive task, it stops constantly. It asks for permission, asks you to clarify the next step, right? It's annoying. Goal Mode is like pointing a marathon runner at the finish line and just letting them run. You type /goal, tell it the final objective, like, hey, check these 10 files and fix all the formatting. And Codex will plan the steps, execute them, test them, and actually self-correct its own errors until the final goal is met. All of that without needing you a babysitter.
Section 4. 3 tips for mastery. Managing your digital subordinate.
Because just like a human employee, the quality of the work you get from Codex depends entirely on how well you manage it. So let's look at how to build a foolproof set of instructions to get professional-grade results every time. A perfect prompt really needs these 4 elements. 1, the goal. Clearly state exactly what you want to build. 2, context. Give it reference files like old templates or data sheets so it knows what you're talking about. 3, constraints. Tell it exactly what it cannot do, specific formatting rules it has to follow. And 4, the completion condition. Tell the AI exactly how you want to review the work before it considers the job totally done.
To make this super concrete, let's look at a bad prompt versus a good one. A bad prompt is just, make an invoice app with tax calculations and PDF output. That is way too vague. The good prompt outlines the specific goal for a freelance web developer. It sets context by attaching a list of clients. It establishes constraints by demanding an A4 simple design with specific bank details included. And crucially, it sets a completion condition. Show me a preview of the form screen and wait for my approval before building the PDF output. Structuring it that way guarantees you're going to get exactly what you actually want. No guessing involved.
Mastery tip number 2 is creating an Agent.md file in your dedicated folder. This is basically just a simple text file that acts as your permanent safety net and rulebook. Before Codex does anything, it reads this file. You can put permanent boundaries in there, like always output all text in Japanese, or safety rules like never delete any files from this folder, ever. It drastically cuts down on those little annoying mistakes that happen when an AI just sort of forgets your preferences. You can just rest easy knowing those boundaries are locked in place.
Tip 3 is managing your thinking levels. Codex lets you dictate how deeply the AI actually thinks about a problem before it takes action, ranging from low all the way to extra high. Now, our source highly recommends just leaving this on the default medium setting for your general office tasks and file creation. Why? Because the higher the thinking level, the more of your usage limit it eats up, and the slower it works. You really want to reserve higher extra highs strictly for when you're asking it to do something crazy, like build complex software or entirely new websites from scratch. Stick to those tips, and you are golden.
Finally, Section 5, Codex versus Claude Code. Let's resolve this huge industry debate.
If you follow the AI space at all, you know there is a massive debate right now between using OpenAI's Codex or Anthropic's Claude Code. They are the 2 heavyweights right now. So which one is actually better? Well, our source material takes a very impartial, practical approach to this, which I love. The truth is, both are unbelievably powerful, and with recent updates, their capabilities are basically identical. Choosing between them isn't really about one being definitively smarter than the other. It's about your specific needs, your budget, and how you personally like to work. Let's break down the framework so you can make the right choice. Breaking this down completely neutrally, for entry cost, Codex is the clear winner for most folks because, again, it's bundled with that standard $20 ChatGPT Plus plan. Heavy use of Claude Code, on the other hand, can quickly push you into needing their higher tier plans, which can run upwards of $100. However, when it comes to online information and tutorials, Claude Code has been out a little bit longer in this specific format, so you're going to find a lot more guides and troubleshooting blogs for it right now. But here is the absolute ultimate pro tip from our sources: synergy. If you're an advanced user and you're comfortable with the command line interface, you don't even have to choose. You can actually use a command to have Claude review and debug the work that Codex just created.
It is literally like having two brilliant employees cross-checking each other's work.
And that brings us to the most important question of this entire explainer. Are you just going to watch this, say, wow, that's pretty neat, and go right back to doing everything manually? Or will you actually open up a dedicated folder, load up Codex, and finally let AI do all that tedious work for you? The source material makes it incredibly clear the era of AI just answering our questions is over. We are firmly in the era of AI completing our tasks. The tools are here, they are incredibly accessible, and it is time to start managing your brand new digital subordinate. Thanks for hanging out with me on this explainer, and I highly encourage you to go try this out for yourself today.